What? Joe Glazer, man, he won't budge. John Murta, let go of Ralf Rangnick and he let go of Matt Judge. Promising sign, but I made a promise to myself, promise that I won't judge. Ralf Rangnick got promised a couple of years, it was Cap Black on Dutch. What? Joe Glazer, man, he won't budge. John Murta, let go of Ralf Rangnick and he let go of Matt Judge. Promising sign, but I made a promise to myself, promise that I won't judge. Ralf Rangnick got promised a couple of years, it was Cap Black on Dutch. What? Yo, this is the OT99 Banter Room where opinions are shared and smoke gets served. This is your boy Firms and we're back again with another show. It's a different twist. The season's done. And look, we've been gone for a minute, but we're back again today to talk about the restructure. Look, there's a lot going on at Manchester United, a lot of change. And for us, it's pivotal. It is pivotal. I was saying to NK offline that I feel like I've learned a lot about my club, Manchester United. I felt like I've become more of a fan. We know about the club structure because we're forced to learn about the club structure because it's the club structure that's been holding us back for all this time. You know, we're learning about our youth. We're learning about the ins and outs of the club, the finances, the debt, all of that sort of stuff, dividends. Like we've turned into finance man. We've turned into super scouts. Like, and you know what I mean? So it's helpful. So look, Man United's had a lot of change, you know, from Andy Boyle coming in to Ralf Rangnick getting the boot to two of our chief scouts getting booted, to us bringing in who else? Who else are we bringing? Who else is gone? I can't remember, man. It's a few chief scouts.
My judge is gone.
Matt Judge,
the chief negotiator, he's gone.
Look, there's a lot to discuss.
Huh?
There's a lot to discuss. A lot of movement.
Yeah, a lot to discuss, man. A lot.
And obviously Eric Ten Hag, Van der Gaag, and Steve McLaren. So there's a lot going on. But look, guys, let's kick it off straight. So when I see these changes happening at my club, for me, it's groundbreaking. For me, I experienced this type of change before. And for me, I think it's the most pivotal thing happening at Manchester United, even more than Eric Ten Hag. Eric Ten Hag's a big signing, don't get me wrong. But these changes at the club structurally, man, is massive. So I'm excited, man. NK, what does that mean for you, man? These changes that's happening upstairs.
I mean, it's good. You know, it's good. I think we've been crying a long time about some of the changes that's kind of like just there because we have been left behind in the last, like, say, 5, 6, 7 years. You know, we've been left behind. And the clubs that we are trying to compete with, your Liverpool and Cities, one of the things that they have been so key is the player recruitment, you know, and that is down to the structure that they have. You look at Liverpool, sometimes you just scratch your head, like any player that they sign, they just come straight into the squad, and then they literally, it's like they fit inside, bro. You know, it's like they do those like ancestry thing, and then they kind of like just find their relative, bro, man. You just know that it's going to just match, bro. Yeah. And then with United, it's like we buy players and we have to learn how to speak different languages in order to communicate with them, bro. You know, so that's what we've been left behind because we do have the money. And I think other fans here, other rival fans, they don't understand that because they're like, look, United spend the money.
Yeah.
But they don't understand how we spend the money because they don't know that the guys that we had in charge, they just did not know nothing. So all this change that's going forward, we are just hoping that going forward, when we say, hey, we're spending 50 million on a player, there are people in place that have literally done proper research to just know that when we bring these guys inside, the percentage of them actually succeeding on the pitch is high. And it's not like a gamble because the players that we've been buying have always been a gamble where we just don't know whether they're going to work or not. Whereas other clubs are buying players where it's more so like they kind of like know that they're going to work in their system.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I feel like it's needed, you know, because with Manchester United signings, I think what's been becoming too common these days is that none of these guys are really working out. It felt like a breath of fresh air when Bruno Fernandes sort of came into the squad, hit the ground running. But it just feels like all of our signings, all Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signings from Maguire's not really working out. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's not really working out. Dan James has already got shifted off to Leeds, spending a lot of money. And like with these signings, you know, I mean, obviously we've seen sort of two of our chief scouts gone. So one of the head of global scouting and the other one like chief scout is gone. I think Lawler, whatever like that, and something.
Jim Lawler, and I
Jim
think
Lawler.
Michel Biasi, or
Bout or
I don't know his name, but yeah,
Marcel Bout, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
So
And
these
you know
guys have
what,
moved on.
those two guys, yeah, they were actually very good scouts. They were very, very kind of like good.
Nah,
but,
man.
No, seriously, and this is what I'm just trying to tell you. Like, is Woodward, buff? Woodward was just literally stubborn, but what he used to do, yeah, is he used to listen to agents. And a perfect example was last time when we were looking for a left back.
Yeah.
We signed Tellus. Do you know how we got Tellus? His agent literally came to Woodward and said, hey, I know you're looking for a left back. I got a client who is literally like available. And Woodward literally just signed him because that's what we needed. So he just signed him, and that's what we just using. The scouts were just never asked to say, hey, you know what, we're looking for this player, so I want you just to go and scout and bring like a scouting report. They just never used to use them like that, bruv, man. And if you go and you do your research, most of our players that we sign, Mendes, who happened to be Ronaldo's agent, we've signed a lot of players from him. Pogba's agent, we used to sign a lot of like players from them too. And that's what we used to do, bruv. Them guys used to just sign guys from agents, and the scouting people literally were just there, just doing nothing. I mean, Gary Neville said it. He said that this guys has been like on garden leave, which means they're getting paid, but no one is listening to them, bruv. So
I felt like they've been I feel like because we've got one of the biggest scouting networks we're one of the biggest clubs in the world. We got scouts for days. But like when Ralf Rangnick's coming back giving reports like saying, the club didn't even know about Nkunku, it's not encouraging, bro. It's not encouraging to me. And it's one thing, Ed Woodward or Matt Judge listening to these scouts. There's another thing, them actually identifying certain players in their database, like to their awareness, especially for a club like us. So it's disencouraging. It's not encouraging when you hear Ralf Rangnick coming out like that. And you know what? Ralf Rangnick, it's a shame that he's got booted out because I reckon he was speaking too harshly, too openly, speaking the facts. And the club thought, you know what? We can't have this guy sticking around. Look, the two chief scouts that's gone yet, and obviously Matt Judge is the recruiter guy. So Edwin, these are a few. I'm going to list a few signings that came under Matt Judge's reign yet, and obviously the chief scouts, they take ultimate accountability as well for, let's say, identifying players if that's what they were doing, or if it was Woodward, whoever. Eric Bailly, we got him 30 million from Villarreal. To you,
misused.
Would you say misused?
Yeah, definitely misused. Look, when you see, I don't think ever players out of form, they're out of form overall, right? You can't tell me he went to the African nations and played well, and he comes back and he's straight on the bench. But yet we're playing players that are not playing well. So I think it's just a misuse. So even though I want him to stay, he might as well move on for his footballing career, because if he was really out of form, he wouldn't have been playing well. But let's be honest, when he did play, he made a few mistakes, but he brought something to the defense no one else had. He was able to recover, and he was just a presence at the back. He was so comfortable on the ball. You couldn't really the mistakes that came was not because he got destroyed by a player. He was really good on one-to-ones, which we needed in his positioning as well. So I think we misused him.
NK, what's your thoughts on Eric Bailly as well? Do you think he got misused? Do you think he was an overall good signing under the Matt Judge's reign?
I think, you know what, Eric Bailly, for the money that we paid for him, could have been a very quality signing. I'm a bit kind of 50-50 with him, because I think when he came in as the number one centre back. He was playing a lot of the games until he got his injuries. I remember the first season he was very key into our run to the Europa League. He played a lot of them until he got injured in the semis. And after those injuries, he just never recovered. His injury became so bad that we had to go and look for other options. If he was fit, I don't think we end up going to sign your Harry Maguires and then your Lindelof, and maybe we would have signed one of them. But if he was fit, I'm pretty sure that he would have been playing, because him and Rojo, I remember they were our centre backs. They were very good at what they were doing, but the injuries just didn't help him. So me, I always look back at the injury, and even if you look at it, the last few years, anytime he plays, he either pulling muscles or he does something, and then he just kind of go out. It just, maybe you can say this season is when he has been fit majority of the time, but you could also argue that maybe he just fit because maybe he's just not playing, so he's not really been pulling muscles or anything like that. So yes, we can say not misuse, but I just feel like it's because of his injuries. It's not even because of his performances.
Yeah.
His injuries is the reason why he fell down the picking order.
So do you think that
and I would say
our job, our scouts, to identify and see his injury record? Or did this injury record just happen at Man U?
I was going to say, do you know what? I thought with Man U, it comes down, I think a problem could be our medical team because players get injured too many times for Man United.
No, but he had an injury record. He had an injury record before he
had
joined.
one. But look at when players just get injured all the time at Man U.
Do you remember the game that we played against? Was it Liverpool or Chelsea? One of those games when we had so many senior guys out. I was just like, this game is just... I mean?
Like,
I saw the lineup.
Everyone seems... Ronaldo just gets all these injuries. I know he's older. This one will get injuries. This one will get injuries. Like, you know what I mean?
Ronaldo's making injuries, bro, man.
Varane apparently weren't injury prone before he came Man United. And now, boy, he got injured again in international duty, bro. Hamstring or whatever it is. I don't know, man.
Muscle injuries. Yeah, you know, and I think, what do you call it? I don't know, maybe our medical department needs to be looked at too, because with players and their hamstrings, sometimes it's just like a lot of things that they need to change, you know, whether it's like their diets, whether it's like the way they train, the way they sleep. Like, you got to be able to give this advice to players too. And at the end of the day, to giving this advice to, they also need to listen. Nowadays, I think a lot of players, they all seem to be having their own like personal trainers, their own nutrition kind of like guys and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's a case where they are doing their own thing and they're not really going according to the club kind of like plans and stuff like that, you know. Because I know Liverpool, for example, they invest a lot of money in their fitness kind of like regime where they do like a lot of stuff to make sure that their players are fit and all that kind of stuff. So maybe it's something that United needs to like look into to kind of like address some kind of like the injury problem that we kind of like face too.
So with Andy Boyle, he got brought in, right, as the deputy director, right? So he got brought in as the deputy director under John Murta. He's supposedly going to take a lot of the work from John Murta, so John Murta can focus on like...
He's been at Man U before, right?
Andy Boyle, yeah. He's been at Man United for a while. So I've got his CV up, right? I'll read his CV.
Now, what about the other players? Are we going through the players?
There's quite a lot of players, so I'll probably come back to it and talk about some of the other key players as well that was under significant ones that was under John Murta's reign. But before I go to that, because this links in with the injury stuff that we was talking about, so this is the CV of so basically this Andy Boyle's role is his role is strategy across the first team, academy and women's team. Yeah, his CV apparently, so it was academy coach for 16 years. It was academy coach 16 years ago. Then he was a sports science lecturer. Then he was a first team fitness coach at Wrexham. Then he was head of sports science at Coventry. Then he joined the FA under 21s as a fitness coach. Then he was head of fitness and elite development. And he worked like 5 years or so under Klopp, which I didn't even know. Then he went to
Liverpool.
Yeah, he was at Liverpool. Yeah.
Ops, innit? Then he was the head of elite performance for the Premier League football. And then what do you call it now is coming back to us. So I think the essence of his role is to overseeing different performance departments at the club. So sports science, medical, strength and conditioning, nutrition, analytics, and ensuring that as many players are fit and able to deal with demands of the game as possible. So when you think about that and you look at the team and you talk about the injuries that we've had with guys like Cavani, who literally was just a myth this season, Pogba,
faking it, bruv.
Varane, yeah, true, probably faking it as well. You just got to think like someone like Andy Boyle, I think is going to be key in having a say and having an impact on it, because a lot of his experience has got to do with fitness and endurance and making sure that these guys can get through the rigors of the Premier League. So for me, I'm just hoping that he can have a positive influence on this team, man, and make sure that, you know, we can, bruv, because from what I'm hearing about Ten Hag, it's high intensity football, bro. High intensity football. And if these guys ain't used to running, bro, how are they going to manage to last under Eric Ten Hag's type of football? So it's going to be an interesting thing.
Yeah, this guy, he's a welcome, addition to the club. And because if you look at some of this new position that has been created, even in the last year now, you know, we look at the director of football, the technical director, and now we go like the deputy director too. all these roles that are coming out. Before, only 2 people used to just do all this job, bro. You know? And that's the stuff, and that's Woodward. Woodward was literally did all this kind of like job. And that's how bad it is. So whether people are going to argue whether, hey, is this guy the best in class or is he the best out there? All I'm going to say is that the position is now available to, I think there's sports science too. If I'm not mistaken, too, I think Meta too used to be, did like sports science too, himself too. But with Andy, what I understand is that Meta literally have been doing too much kind of like job on his role to where it has become too much for him. So what this guy is coming to do is that he's going to help him deal with certain aspect of like, what do you call it? That is going to free Meta to kind of like concentrate fully on the first team. Yeah, on the first team too. So he'll be able to kind of like just do that when as I said to you, on the kind of like the fitness side and everything too. I think it's something that the club is literally trying to kind of like move on to. And even and that is one of the key reasons why 2 of the scouts literally got sacked. And the 2 that got sacked, they got sacked because United are trying to move on to this thing where they use like data analytics, which is what Liverpool used to find a lot of their players, you know. Because nowadays, when clubs want players, they use data where they input. They got this database that got so many of these players' information there. So based on what they're looking for in the player,
it's Football Manager, bro. It's similar to Football Manager,
right? It's similar to that. So what do you call it? They input it inside it, and then it bring out a list of players that they feel like it's gonna kind of like suit that kind of like system. So after they identify that, then they have to do like the whole like scouting and stuff like that. So those 2 scouts that left here, they didn't really have that data analytics thing or part of their CV. They were not experienced on that side. That's where they let them kind of like go. So it's like right now we kind of like in terms of like our recruitment team, we're trying to go towards more of like the Liverpool type of like model, you know, where they did that. Like for example, if you don't know, like for example, Salah, they recommended him to what do you call it, Klopp, because Klopp wanted like that guy, what's his name, Gomez, or so. He wanted him. They're like, nah, you need to go for Salah because they have already done like their data thing, so they knew that he was gonna suit more for Klopp than him. Eventually, they just went up and down, and then he settled on what do you call it, Salah, and look at what do you call it, how it turned out too. So I think going forward, that's what's going to happen to him. I think if you hear 1 or 2 reports too, that's when with the Pau Torres and the Timber news, that's why they said like the recruitment team have recommended Pau Torres to Tim Hag, and then obviously Tim Hag to say, look, I want Timber. That's what the narrative is going on anyways. Whether they want 1 defender or 2, I'm not quite sure, but it's going to be this type of thing that's going to be going on where they find someone, the manager probably will have a name too, and then it's like they have to work in a team. They have to come up down to like 1 signing. Whereas before, one person was going to say, hey, you know what? Harry Maguire is there. Let's go get him. And nobody is there to like ask the question like, why are we going for Harry Maguire? Can he fit into so and so and so? Is it what we're looking for? They never used to do that. We just used to buy players because they were the best at what they do for other teams. Not necessarily going to be the best for what we need, you know. So it's a very welcome addition, man. Very welcome addition.
Well, I'm telling you, bro. I think it's going to be a welcome addition, man. And hopefully, man, we can start bringing in some proper players. Because like the players that we've brought in the past, I'm going to go back to some of the key names that we've brought in as well. Like for example, Edwin, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now this is someone that we heard quite a lot of research had been done, quite a lot of scouting had been done. You know what I mean? And then we ended up getting Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's right on our doorstep. And if you think about all of the fullbacks in this world, like we're hearing about various different guys now under Ralf Rangnick, that when he was here under Erik ten Hag now as fullback options, but then all we can seem to hear about was the Premier League guys or the English guys, where it was Aaron Wan-Bissaka and the other guy from Norwich. And we ended up opting for
Max Aarons or Aaron's
Max Aarons. It ended up rounding to those 2 names, and then we ended up.
Let's be on your point.
So what's your thoughts?
Let's be honest when it comes to Man United. Man United are very lazy. It's shown that in the past when it comes to scouting. So I think all you have to do is have 1 good season. Evidence, Saha, as well. Like you have 1 good season in the Premiership, and they try and do a shortcut saying, this person plays in the Premiership. They've had a good season. Let's get them. So I don't think, as much as they say they scouted, I don't think they did. Because continuously, if you watch someone, you would have seen them. I think he had 1 good season, and it kind of like propelled him to go to the front. But you know, it's unfortunate. Like when you buy a player, It's weird. I was gonna say when you buy a player, you never know, but it's weird. It seems like all the other teams, on average, when they buy players, they seem to do well, especially like Liverpool. You know what I mean? So I think with Man United, they need to like, especially maybe what NK said, they maybe more due diligence when it comes to signing players, like more data analysis. See how consistent they are, like, because if we really want to survive in the Premiership, we need a right back that can not only attack but can cross. And Wan-Bissaka is missing. Defensively, he's good at tackling, don't get me wrong. But then he started to fade off on his one-to-ones. Before he used to take players out, then it's like he stopped. I don't know if you guys realize, it's like he stopped going in for those tackles. It's like he couldn't be bothered no more. And attacking-wise, he wasn't like, it's not like you never saw assist or, you know what I mean? So for me, I feel like defensively he's good, but if we want a team that it does well in the Premiership, we need a left or right back that can attack, and he was missing those qualities. So I think overall he was a flop.
And also, Fems, another thing too is, in our previous manager, like say Oli, for example, as a scout or as a data thing with this Wan-Bissaka thing, we didn't know what Oli wanted. We didn't know if I'm a scout, you ask me to go find a Pep, a right back, I would know what Pep need based on how he plays. You ask me to go find one for Klopp, I would know what Klopp need based on how they play. But if you ask me to go find a player for Oli, I don't know what Oli needs, because we just never really had that kind of like, you just don't, you wouldn't say, oh, this is an Oli type of profile player. So if they are doing all this data kind of like thing and then they landed on this tool, it's probably because they didn't know what they were looking for. They didn't know what the manager wanted. And that's how they ended up on him. So I think it was more like, let's get a player that can develop because he's seen potential, rather than, oh, I'm getting this player for this manager because that's what this manager needs. This manager needs a fullback that can literally be good in attacking. They just didn't know. And they were literally recruiting for, we are getting the best in class out there in the Premiership, and that's all it was.
Yeah, can I make a quick point? On the back of that, just to go back on my point, I think I was a bit harsh on Wan-Bissaka. I need to give Man United the blame as well, because what I've realised is that the Man United in the last couple of years, if you're not a developed player, you won't do well at Man United. Like, they're not good at developing players. And it's shown over the years. Like, if you've come and you've got the potential to be good, you might not get. You know what I mean? Because
Wan-Bissaka was never going to develop the way we wanted him to develop.
But do you know certain players can get the best out of players to develop them? Because even if
I get what you mean.
Look at Kyle Walker, right? Kyle Walker was good at Tottenham, but he wasn't how he is at Man City. You know what I mean? Like, he became a whole different. We just knew him as a fast right back. He became solid, like, to the fact that they need him at right back. And Wan-Bissaka, with a good coach, he may have done much better. There'll still be flaws. But, you know, like, from there, I've seen someone like Ronaldo being able to shoot. Now he shoots like how he is from when he first came, when he couldn't even let the ball lift the ground. A proper coach could have got better out of Wan-Bissaka in terms of attacking. There wasn't even any sort of, like, improvement in that area. And that probably goes down to the coaching as well.
So do you think, like, because the only coaches that I've seen that we've recruited is obviously Ten Hag's right-hand and left-hand man. So he's got Steve McLaren and Van der Gaag, but I just haven't seen enough coaches coming in, man, in the team, like enough people for me to start to feel a bit comfortable, you know. I feel like
sometimes you don't need them coaches, innit? Like, I feel like Rangnick, Solskjaer was at a point where he reached his end. He done the most he could. Rangnick has been too much out of the game, and he clearly showed towards the end he's probably there. He's better as an advisor than he is a manager, right? But with Ten Hag, because he's a manager, maybe he can get the best out of the coaches as well, as much as getting the best out of the fixers. Maybe he can set them a plan, work on this. And he's got 2 assistants, remember. He's not 1 assistant, it's 2. So maybe he'll get one of the assistants to work primarily with the coaches and looking after the coaches. Then, you know what I mean? So maybe the way he set it up, he knows what he wants.
And also with Ralf and Oli, the big difference is that those guys were not responsible for coaching the team on the training pitch. They didn't do that. It was under Oli, it was McKenna and Carrick that used to take the training sections. Yeah. So, and if you read reports and some of the articles I was reading, sometimes what they used to train on the pitch and then during match day, what they were being asked were kind of like totally different things too. So it kind of like created a bit of kind of like confusion too. And then under Ralf too wasn't able to bring in the guys that he wanted to kind of like bring in terms of like coaching stuff. And when he came on to McKenna, Carrick, all of them kind of like left. So it was a bit where he had to like do like damage limitation and try to go for people that were kind of like out of jobs that kind of like knew how he was going to do. So he brought the two MLS guys, you know, to come. And they were not the best people out there. And Ralf literally left all the training sections to them to just do that. And they were literally out of their depth. And I read this thing too, that even sometimes during games, Ralf used to rely on some data guy who wasn't even at the club. He was all the way in Russia, in Lokomotiv Moscow. And he will wait for him to give him feedback before he reacts towards that. And this guy wasn't even getting paid by Man United. It was actually like one of Ralf kind of like guys, bro, man. So it just shows you how bad that kind of like whole thing is. With Tim Hag, I think he does his own coaching. So you're gonna see him on the coaching, doing his own drills and stuff like that. Obviously, Steve McConnell and the other coach too, they're gonna help too, but he will be the key one leading the training section, unlike the two previous managers where their coaches were more leading the training section and they were just literally like chilling somewhere else, bro.
It'll be refreshing just to see guys that know what they're doing, like know actually how to coach. Not this random one plucked from here, not this random guy plucked from there. Like this is Erik ten Hag's guys that he's chosen.
But let's be honest as well, like with our last two managers, they were really inexperienced. Like Solskjaer was no experience at managing a team like at that caliber because he was at Cardiff before and he kind of struggled in it.
Got relegated,
and look at Rangnick.
Fuck him, bro, before he got relegated, bro.
And look at Rangnick, like he's been so unattached from the game, and it's like, and you have to look at it sports-wise. If you're a boxer and you haven't boxed for like 10 years and you've just been coaching, you can't just jump into the boxing ring and expect to win titles.
You are being kind. If you're a boxer and you used to box in the Olympics, you used to box in the Olympics, amateur.
No, but I'm making the same point. I'm saying like you can't box here and then retire for 12 years and become a boxing coach and then come back and expect to do well. That's what I'm saying.
Bro, he wasn't even boxing proper because he was managing small teams. So that's what I'm saying. Like he was boxing with them headgears on, bro. First time they took the headgears on, bro. My game left hook, left and right, bro, man. That's what happened to Ralf, bro.
So what? That leads us on to Erik ten Hag. I mean, not Erik ten Hag, Ralf Rangnick then, because Ralf Rangnick was a guy, obviously, that it's like he sold us a dream, and then he got sold a dream as well. So karma came back mad. He got his job, his long-awaited job in Austria. I heard he done a good job at Austria, got the 3-0 victory, doing gang pressing. But obviously, you know, like at Man United, it was a disaster, bro. And I'm just happy that he only had 6 months at our club, because if he had any longer, well, we would have been battling with flipping Lampard and them, and they're just, you know, jumping for joy that we're still in the league. So, but let's get on to Ralf though. Look, let's go with these performances then, because some people are saying, you know what, Ralf Rangnick, they're happy with Ralf Rangnick. You know, he exposed the club, and he called out the board. You know, it had a positive impact in that sense. He set off the change. And then some people are saying that, you know, he's a fraud, and, you know, he conned us and he used us to get a job, etc., etc. What's your views on it, Edwin, with Ralf Rangnick and his reign at our club?
Let's put it was a poor reign. Like, the thing is, I've got no respect for him for one reason. It's just how it started off, right? So you come to a squad where you've got your own formation, the 4-2-2-2, right? You play it, right? It's not too bad. It's not looking bad. You're playing Cavani and Ronaldo up front, right? The first game or two, we looked actually good. The players started complaining. He tucked his tail and listened to them. From there, it was a disaster. From there, he gave the powers back to the players as the manager. He lost it. He lost their respect, I think, and he lost them in the change room, because then they're just running the club. And that's one thing we missed about Ferguson. No player was bigger than the club. I think maybe one player, maybe Rooney, was the only one that got away with it when he wanted to leave. Anyone else that said they wanted to leave, but there was beef with Van Nistelrooy, Yep Stam, Beckham. That no player was bigger than the club. And I think as a manager, you got to stamp yourself. You can't come in and then try and enforce the way you play and then play according to the players. From there, I think he lost it. And then after that, he just became like you know what he ended up becoming like? You remember when we were in school and then Ofsted used to come to your school and they used to like check your school, they check the teaching and everything, and they'd write a report back about recommendations. That's what he just came. He literally came to like quality check Man United. That's it. His managing was poor. Because he had no relationship with the players. There's issues with when Lingard didn't want to start. He's saying something, Lingard saying something else. Martial's the case. So I think as soon as he changed the formation, everything went downhill. The players weren't playing for him no more. So overall, poor manager. Not going to go down in the history as a good manager that we've had. Only good thing came out of him saying stuff, but what he's saying may never even materialize. So that doesn't matter anymore because he's not there. So it's like you couldn't do well as a manager. You couldn't even stay as an advisor. So overall, my guy.
I was so shocked. I was shocked to see, some people weren't shocked, but I was shocked to see that he was leaving because he didn't even have a full role. So I was just like, okay, how much influence? I don't know.
Do you know why I wasn't too shocked though? Because if Ten Hag is talking about, Ten Hag was very vocal about Man United was second the season before this season, right? So he said there must be quality in the core that he needs to work on, right? If he's willing to keep a few of those players, a handful of those players, they don't like Rangnick. You know what I mean? And he probably wants synergy between the whole team. And if you're looking at Rangnick is always going to, he might clash with Rangnick all the time. He will say something, and then Rangnick might say something else in the interview. And it just looks mad. You know what I mean? And we've seen how Rangnick clashes with people. One person will say, I wanted to play, and then Rangnick will be like, he didn't want to play. And like, Ten Hag is probably thinking that I'm here to manage a team. Like, I don't need all these, it's too many voices. Think about it. You've got the board, you've got your thing, you've got two assistant managers. You don't need someone like Rangnick talking in your ear. Especially when it's the biggest job that you'll probably have. So I think in the long run, it was good getting rid of him, to be honest. He's made his points. Cool, we acknowledge it, but Austria is waiting for you, my friend.
Ralf Rangnick was on smart. He said, change the whole 11. He said it needs heart surgery. He was on smart. I think he worried the board.
No, but you know what? He said that, but like, Ten Hag did make, like, this is a team that finished second. Whether the Premiership, the other teams fell off, we finished second statistically, right? So there must be something that you could work with. We need additions, don't get me wrong, but we actually need a manager, you know what I mean? That can manage a team, make them work. And having Rangnick there talking, like, bro, like, no one was like, the game, the job is stressful in itself. So I think for Ten Hag to do well and develop and flourish, you need to cut off all the fat off the meat. And unfortunately, Rangnick is just one of them guys. Like, he came and he basically, crazy thing is, the last point, he actually used Man United as a stepping stone. And that's crazy to think. No, it's true, isn't it? Because he's left to another job. It's not like Solskjaer's left and is retired. He's left, probably got a payoff, and he's gone to, because they would have had to pay him for the contract for his consultancy, because you can't, so you can't just cut someone's contract. There's probably terms that they probably have to pay him outright. So he probably got a couple mil from there, and he's walked into another job. He's chilling.
That's crazy, you know. So you think it's Eric Ten Hag that was saying, you know what? Respectfully, I appreciate your ideas, but I can't work with you because
I wouldn't be surprised, because Rangnick was already causing bare issues before. The season hasn't finished. Every 2 minutes, I haven't heard from Ten Hag. You know what I mean? Like, he kept on mentioning him, like, bro, the guy hasn't even started his job. He's still at Ajax. He's talking about, we haven't text, we haven't communicated, maybe we'll talk. And then probably he was thinking, like, this guy's, like, talks too much already. You know what I mean? Like, so I would be like that, because I'm thinking, like, you've got 2 or 3 games, you're talking about me, like, we haven't, why am I texting you when I still got a league to win?
It's true.
Like, remember, it's every 2 minutes, he's like, oh yeah, it's too much. I feel like Ten Hag probably foresaw that.
Ten Hag was dodging him like some side beat. But then at least we can give some appreciation to Ten Hag. He focuses on his job. Remember, he didn't want to talk about Man United. As soon as he left Ajax, he didn't go on their holiday. He came straight to the job.
He just focused on what he needs to do. I think Rangnick's attention is too much in other places. He's thinking about the future, this, that. And he's too erratic, I think, for what we need. So me personally, like, I'm not too sure if it was Ten Hag that said no, but he probably would have had a role. And they probably offered him something and he probably said, nah, let me just leave it then.
NK.
Oh, God, so I was just probably just saying the job he got as well probably acted as well. They're like, bro, we need people that are committed. You can't be an international manager and be giving consultancy. It's too split.
That's the maddest thing though, because I thought that they already agreed that it's going to be X number of days per whatever it was.
But you don't know. You don't know football. They probably agreed that we don't. Sorry. One thing, NK. They probably agreed that Rangnick was leaving when he became Austrian manager, but never said nothing because of what's going on. They probably been agreed that he wasn't going to be considered. Because you remember, nothing comes out until it comes out.
Yeah, it's true. It's very sneaky, bro. Very sneaky.
Let me give it a breakdown.
NK, the floor's yours.
Let me break it down.
In the know, ITK.
Bro, after doing my research, doing a bit of reading, putting one or two together to speaking to one or two of my sources. Let me just
Heinz, bro, and mega sauce.
This is what I think happened. Originally, when United went to go get Ralf, they went for 6 months. I believe at the time, I feel like Meta wanted to like a lot of control at the footballing side, but he wasn't getting it because of Woodward and Majed. So he needed someone to kind of like come in there to kind of like help him kind of like get some of his point across, because he knew exactly what to do in terms of like building a club. So that's why he went to go get Ralf in to come in as the interior manager. But when they gave him a 6 months deal, Ralf didn't want the 6 months contract. So then they agree, okay, 6 months with the 2-year consultancy. Now, the word 2 years consultancy, and if you remember when they asked him like, what exactly is the 2-year consultancy about, they said, we don't know. We will discuss it as the season go along. That what Ralf meant by the consultancy is him getting a job on a full-time basis. He really thought he was gonna come in, actually do a job, and actually get the job on a full-time basis.
He really wanted it. It was him.
He really wanted it. So if you look at it, when he first started, the way in which he used to talk, he wasn't that, like his press conference was very constructive. He would talk about the tactics. He would talk about the players. Nothing like negative like that, you know. Even when he used to talk about the club in that kind of like manner, it was very constructive. Like it wasn't like in that kind of like disrespectful manner in terms of like how he did kind of like the end of it. I'll tell you when he changed, and I did my research too. It was around end of February. It was around end of February. This is when we lost the game against Atletico. I think when we got kicked out. And if you guys don't remember, there was an article that came out that said that Ralf have hired a media advisor. You know, he had like a media advisor to advise him in terms of like how he communicates. I believe around that time, because if you remember too, around that time we had like an international break, and that international break is when Man United went to go interview Tim Hart. I believe around that time, the club literally informed him that they were definitely going to go get a permanent manager, and there was no way that he was going to get a permanent job. So he has already fallen out with the players. The dressing room thing was a chaos, especially with Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo led one meeting that went to him, try to change the formation so that they can play two up top to help him get more after the team, which he kind of like shut it down. So he lost the dressing room. He's not going to get the job no more too. So his credit was under question, you know, because he came in with that big reputation as, oh, you know, Ralf, the godfather of the gang press and stuff like that. And he hasn't been able to do it too. And he was banking on getting the job, which now he's not going to get the job. So all he's going to have is that 6 months period which people are now going to start questioning him. Because don't forget, before he came to get this job, he used to do like lectures talking about how, team should be pressing. You remember one time he talked about United, don't do half pressing. If you can't do full pressing, you can't be half pregnant. You have to go up pressing. So this guy has gone on
me, bruv. Watching these lectures, it was like uni, bruv.
Right. So if you have led your reputation on speaking on all those stuff, and when it came down to it, you couldn't deliver it, and you're not going to get a chance to go on as the manager next season to say bring your own players and actually maybe prove to us that this 6 months was a fluke. What do you do? So he then went on to go get the Austria job because he has to prove himself, because right now his credibility is gone. After this, Ralf cannot go out there to be doing lectures and talking about game pressing and everything like that. He needs to restore his his reputation. That's why he got the media guy to advise him. That guy is actually from Germany anyways too. So he got him to come and advise him. And after that, he just decided to become reckless, because he already knew he was going. Around March time, Ralf already knew he was going, because a report came that, Ralf might be taking the Austria job. It got shut down, but he was actually in talks to try to do that. So then he went reckless. He started literally talking about, you know what, the club need like 10 players. They need to do that. They need to do that. That was him trying to cover his reputation to say, look, these players are not good enough. He started to use the word physical, all those kind of stuff, to just try to say, look, if I had a place that I needed to have and stuff like that, I could have done something. But then this place were not good enough, to just do that.
Apparently, he had a long conversation with Ten Hag over the phone, like hours long, where he got his point across, because they never obviously met face to face. But do you think that Ralf has got a point? Do you feel like we do need that whole gutting and Clara, or do you feel like
we do?
Because Edwin touched on the fact that these players ain't been getting coached. None of them been getting coached. Aaron Wan-Bissaka had no chance because nobody's trying to develop him. You get me? So with Ralf Rangnick saying that, you know what?
Your camera.
Oh, snap. Can you hear me still?
We can hear you, but your
camera's gone off and it froze before you came off.
I think it probably died. The battery died.
Yeah, the battery's dead.
I'll keep talking. Yeah, I was about to say, whilst I fix this, do you think then it's about the players, or do you feel like Erik Ten Hag can get the best out of them?
Here's the thing. For the first season 1 and season 2, he will have to rely on some of these players to help him do the job. And when he said that thing about, this squad got second place, they got second place only like about 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
At first, I felt like he was talking about the squad. But after sitting down and just kind of like thinking about it, I feel like he was playing some kind of like psychological thing with the team. Because I always say, look, what he's going to say to the public here is going to be different to what he's going to say to the players in the dressing room. Publicly, he's saying that Man United need to get to the Champions League. But he's not going to go to the dressing room.
You can see me now. Nice.
Yeah, I can see you now, yeah.
Yeah, a little DIY day. Get me?
So as I said to you, publicly, what he says to, to the public and what he said in the dressing room is going to be different, He said publicly, like, the club need to get a Champions League, and the immediate priority for us to get to Champions League literally as soon as possible. But he's not going to go to the dressing room and tell these guys that, next season our aim is to become top 4. He's a winner, and he's going to be demanding these guys to go into the pitch every single game to win games. So me personally, the way I kind of think what he said about second place is that what he's trying to say is like, you lot have got second place before. So if you can do it, then you can repeat that again. So next season, we're not coming here to say, we're going to get top 4. We're coming here to say, hey, you know what? We can try to challenge for the title or do better than that. That is the mentality he will install in their head. They're not necessarily going to do that, but when you go, for example, if he go into the dressing room and he say, look, we're going to get top 4, some games, when they draw, they're going to feel okay because they know the objective is just to get a top four. But when you install into players' head that the achievement is to go and repeat that second place or to try and do better, every game that they go in, they always want to win to the point where if it's 1-1 and it's like the 85th minute and you saw that around Oli's regime when it's like 1-1, 85th minute, they were passing the ball slowly. It was as if like they were happy to get a draw. But when you install into players' head that, look, the aim is to achieve second place or maybe better than that, when it's 1-1, bro, they're going to try to go get a winner rather than sit back. So psychologically, that's what he's trying to install in their head. But in the year 1, year 2, he's going to rely on some of these players. But as time goes on, look, by the time we are ready to kind of like win something, a lot of these guys are not going to be there. That one is for sure. So on that one, I feel like Ralf literally have a point where he said like a lot of things need to be changed.
You know what is? I thought with Ralf, right? If Man United go on to do okay next season and even better, then his point is valid. But to be honest, I don't want to listen to someone that didn't do well in his job.
No, but his point is valid, man. Coaching-wise,
it's a valid point, but we're gonna see how bad it is this season. Because if Ten Hag could do something with this team, then you just know Rangnick wasn't just fit for the job.
But Edwin, the perfect example is Tuchel at Chelsea. He don't have his guys there. I always say, a manager, when you go in there, you don't have your guys there. What you need to do is you need to find a system that get the best out of the ones that you have.
That's correct.
Now.
He won the Champions League with them.
Right, and that's what differentiates the elite managers from your so-called okay managers. What you have, you make best out of it. Klopp, for example, did that when he was building his team. He found a way to kind of like get like the champions until he got everything together, and then he went a step up. Ralf did not. Yes, you are the pressing guys, but when you go inside and you feel like okay, you don't have the guys to do that. Find a way. Yesterday, Austria, he played a game with 3 at the back. That's the formation he played. United, he came out publicly to say that, Harry Maguire cannot play in a back 2. And then yet you still set up a formation to play a back 2. So why do you need to play a back 3 then? If you knew that one of your centre back that you count on cannot play that, why didn't you play a back 3? Just to get them back, to get like whatever you wanted to achieve. So to me, I feel like he only knew one way. And once his plan A kind of like went bad, he didn't have a plan B to kind of like get the best out of them, man. And that's all it was.
That was my issue with him as well. I feel like a good manager will like know that a team's trash, but still get some level of stability, stabilize it at best. Do you know what I mean? And I looked at other teams that was dismantling us, like, Brighton. You look at, you know what I mean? You see their managers just doing a job with Brighton. Brighton's not a team that we're looking at saying they're anything special. So when I see our fan base jump on the thing about, these players are they are performing badly. But when you've got a good manager that knows what he's doing, that comes in, he can get a certain level of standard out of these players, even though they're not world-class, even though they're not even decent. Because we had no excuse of being getting battered against teams like, who battered us like 4-0? I don't even know. Was it Watford? I don't even know what team. Just
Watford. I was only bro. Everybody was banged.
Everyone was beating us. It's like, bro, like our team is not as bad as these teams. You understand? Like these teams, if we put our players up for sale, bro, it'll be a dream come true for Watford to get a Rashford who we're ridiculing, to even get a Fred and McTominay. It'll be a dream for them. And then we're talking about our players like to say they are all like League One level.
But not Fred and McTominay though, man. Come on, no one will take them,
bro. I promise you, bro. Watford, yeah, they're playing cleverly, and who else are they playing in the mid? Bro, they'll take a Scott McTominay, and the funniest thing is they'll get more of Scott McTominay than what we're getting out of them because they've got Stuart Pearce and them, man. They'll get more of our players than we're getting out of our players. Do you understand? And it's just frustrating. So I'm hoping Ten Hag can bring out some gems that we didn't know about. Some of the ones that people are tooting, like Sancho, people are tooting like Delo, people are tooting like the youngsters that are coming through, like Garnacho, Ahmad, Palestri. People are tooting a couple of names, so it'll be interesting to see like who revives, man. Who revives, and I'm banking on him reviving, Rashford especially, man, because we need that guy, especially as we don't know what's happening with Greenwood. We really do need a forward outside of Ronaldo, man, because we can't just rely on Ronaldo, bro. Like Sancho, we need him to be banging. You know what I mean? At least Sancho, we need just another forward to be banging, and I hope that Ten Hag can do that. Your
We
volume.
need Rashford. We need Rashford as well to at least to get to some type of form.
That's what I was saying, yeah. Or even Martial,
like
if you keep him,
yeah,
whoever, bro.
yeah. Even if Martial stays here, but he still plays okay, there's no point selling him. Like, what are we gonna do with him? Like, we've got no forwards.
I need to go on loan, bruv, man.
No, there's no point for what? No one's gonna take him on loan after he's poor.
But what's he gonna do here, bruv? What's he gonna do here?
Bro, it's better than nothing. What did Cavani do when he was?
Well, it's not even about what. But the thing is, to me, when players come out to just say that they when they check that mentally or they don't like the environment that they want to be in no more, it's very hard to motivate these guys, bruv. It's very hard to motivate these guys. I tell you, like, bro, you must learn about Tim Hag, bruv, man. This guy, he's a control freak. You know, he likes things to be done certain thing. Even Edwin Van der Sar was even saying a thing. He said he come across as weird, bruv. He's one of those ones here where every little details kind of like matters to him. The little stuff that you might not feel like is nothing here to him.
I was literally listening to the Steve McLaren interview. Did I send it to you?
Right. I thought you watch it, bruv.
Writing down notes from when people had tea breaks, like, or you know,
right. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, bruv, man. He's one of those ones, like, details matters to him, bruv, man. So when you having players that, if he hear anything about, oh, this guy don't want to be, but he's not going to be going out there trying to kind of like convince Martial to say, oh, you know what, stay and just do a job for Bob. The minute he hear Martial don't like it, he's going to say, okay.
I'm talking about Martial. Martial got a fresh start, though. That's the thing. Martial went to Sevilla and got a fresh start. So everything that was worrying him at Man United, he got a fresh start at Sevilla. Yeah, so that all should have been kind of gone. And you would have hoped that it would have kickstarted career. But you're getting reports back from Sevilla saying, you know what, like, we don't want him. He just... Apparently,
the word on the street was that he actually went there to get a divorce, bruv. Word on the street was he actually went there to go get a divorce, bruv. And that's the thing too. And even with Rashford too, I think, look, as human beings, we all gonna have like personal problems, you know. But it's about how mentality wise you let like your off-field stuff, yeah, affect what's going on with you on the field. You know,
Ronaldo was a big example. Big one.
Well, Ronaldo wife lost a baby giving birth, you know, and he still came on there and he literally was still scoring goals, you know, because
he understands. Why I believe him. It was banging in goals with his grieving.
Right, banging in goals, so he understands that. I've seen certain players where their parent or their mom, dad, or so will pass away. They will still come onto the pitch and still kind of like deliver, you know. Rashford, for example, what do you call it? One of the things that he had a problem with, like his girlfriend, where they got separated or so. Whether that was part of the reason why he was so unhappy, time will tell. And
don't get just. I know it affects people in different ways. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, one, is there support at Manchester United Football Club?
I don't think there is, man.
That's another thing.
Listen to this.
Even with Cavani, yeah, we let him go out, yeah, and he made a statement.
Let's not say Ronaldo's a benchmark. He's a different type of player.
No,
he is.
Ralf brought in the psychiatrist.
Psychologist. But it's been how long though?
Nobody was going to see my man, bruv. Nobody was going to see my man, bruv.
But the thing is, no one trusted him. Look, you need a manager that you believe in, like, before you go in.
No, but when you bring those kind of like guys there, no one trusts that. But the thing with
listen to the expert, like Banter, listen to the expert, bro. This is what Edwin does, bro.
Look, I'm telling you, but you know, being serious here, anything when it comes to that, you have to have faith on where it's coming from, right? So if you don't believe the person that's bringing that, think about it. How are you going to trust someone to deal with something so personal when you don't trust the person?
But it wasn't Ralf that was dealing that. They brought someone at the club who literally was specialist in terms of like player psychology, you know.
But was it Ralf's recommendation though, which is
right?
Yes,
whether it was through Ralf's
recommendation, recommended. If an ops is making a recommendation,
think about it. Yeah? If I, you know, unfortunately, if I had like, if I don't trust someone, I'm not taking any advice or anything they offer, because that trust runs from whatever they're offering. I won't
like
trust
that. But the vaccine,
nobody
trusts Boris and them, so nobody wanted to.
No, sometimes it comes down to trust. But
like MK was like, champion.
Hey, don't mention the vaccine before they lock up the
Wow, but then look, here is where I stand, yeah. I get it that you might not trust like people, for example, but when you are your all-time low, which let's say Rashford was, and you couldn't even dribble past man, bruv. sometimes, yeah, you might not trust someone, but if it's your last resort, yeah, you go. For example, if I'm broke, and there is no job out there, bro, I take whatever job is available to me right now until I find a different one, but so they should have just used him, but to say, hey, you know what? Yes, maybe
you know what,
Ralf
NK as well.
But let me go use him because now it's my career, bro. My career is on the line.
But you know what? If I'm honest here, it takes a lot because there's even people that will be suffering, right? Or going through a lot. And it will take them a year or two to even go on that. So sometimes it's about where you're at. So even though he should have gone to there, he might not have had the capacity because we also got to remember, Rashford had everything. The penalty miss, right? Then he had all the stuff about the school meals and he had people getting onto him about his career. He had so many things hitting him.
And his girlfriend dumped him, boss.
Crazy.
But do you know what? Well, the thing is,
he's married now, though, he's married now. It's happily.
No, the girl dumped him. They go back together recently, and then all of a sudden now they're engaged, bro. This guy better not leave him, you know, because once his heart get broken, he's done out here, bro.
Hey, let's wrap up, man. So, boy,
right, cool.
At the end of the day, look, we're hoping for positive movements. Like we've got a board which is hopefully making changes there. No restrictors, no dead weight. You get me? We've got Ten Hag now, who's meticulous in what he does. He's got his trio around him. You get me? Van der Gaag, and we've got Steve McLaren. They've worked together. They've got experience together. No qualms there. And we've got a lot of dead weight that's gone. Mata, Matic, Pogba, Lingard, probably Bailly, probably, Brandon Williams, probably Aaron Wan-Bissaka. The list is kind of endless, to be honest. Cavani. And we're going to see, hopefully, a few new faces. And a fresh new start, man. A fresh new start where the manager can come in, knows what he wants, knows the style of play he wants, knows the players that will fit his philosophy, and has a board that hopefully in John Murtagh that backs him and supports him, So it's not guys that are just financially driven. So hopefully we start to make progress there. Man. And Liverpool, we'll see it in the pre-seasons anyway, man. I'll be there watching. But guys, man,
it's been good. What I say is that Rangnick, I don't even want to say thank you, but you did whatever. Look, you, but we just give thanks for a new season.
I think with all this like structure that's kind of like taking place, it's a big summer for them, especially Meta. It's a big summer. He already had 1 year to kind of like get himself familiar to this. This is the best first summer where he have the full control and everything. So let's see how they do it in the transfer market, and then after that we can just start talking about whether he's experienced enough to do the job or not. So this is a big summer. After that, we're gonna judge him. We're gonna have a whole time for him, man. We're gonna definitely have a whole time for him, man. But until then, it's just like, let's see what these people can do, bro.
And we'll be back in the transfer window as well, chopping up the latest transfers, gossips, the rumours, the guys that we signed, hopefully. So we'll be back again, man. Obviously, De Jong's out there. Nunez is out there.
Oh, De Jong getting announced before June, what do you call it? 10th June, bro. 10th June, bro, man. I said it, you heard it here first, man. Exclusive, bro.
Hey, don't dead this page and just dead. Gas, bro. Anyway, guys.
All right, the page is over. Let's go.
Like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram at OT99_banter. Peace.